Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reacts where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Relentless Pursuit titled Symmetrical Darkness, and if we switch over to here we have ourselves the track on the screen now. Apparently this is the bonus song from the Ultimate Edition of their 5th album Ascension, and it is only available on their Bandcamp page and YouTube channel, so if you want to check it out links are in the description, but we're going to check out this track from start to finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it. I like a lot of this. So, like, what are we doing there with those guitars? I find the performance incredibly intricate and it's fascinating guitar stuff. I'm wondering, I haven't really heard the shred stuff from Relentless Pursuit before, so... I mean, it works with the growls, doesn't it? Structurally, it's fascinating. I mean, where are we going next? Are we using... How are we doing these guitars? How are we doing using these guitars? Great use of arpeggios though, man. Okay, so that was Symmetrical Darkness. We're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Relentless Pursuit titled Symmetrical Darkness. Now, I gave this track an overall score of 7.7 out of 10, and I did so because I liked a lot of different components about it, including the main theme, the rhythms, coloration, structure. The actual performance as well was very, very, very good. I don't know what the track is about. I gave the vocals a 7 because I appreciate the actual quality of the vocal performance there. Doing that kind of sort of like vocal thrust, the growls there in this metal genre is very difficult to do. I think the Relentless Pursuit do it very well. I just didn't necessarily get many of the words through clearly, so I'm not actually sure. I would need another listen through, a dedicated listen through to really understand what the vocals were saying. And I think to be very gentle about it. This is not a complaint so much as just a thing I've just realized. As a listener, if I listen to a metal track and I can't understand what the words are, I'm kind of okay with that. because I like the sound of the vocals and how they contrast with the really colorful guitar parts and maybe some synth parts that are going on top of it. And they sound great. So it's weird to me, like I have to give it a 7, but I want to sort of emphasize that it's simply because I did not get some of the words through clearly. I'm sure if I listened more carefully on a second listen through, I'd probably get them more. But there's just so much really cool stuff going on in this track otherwise that it would have felt like a shame to have only focused on one part than the other. Do you know what I mean? There was lots of ear candy. So I just want to sort of emphasize that I thought the actual vocal technique with the different overdubs and like the double tracking, and there was some like spoken parts as well as like kind of like the growled stuff on top. It was good. I like the sound of it, even if I didn't necessarily get the words through clearly. I thought the technique was solid, and I think it's appropriate for the genre. The track, I think part of what I enjoyed about the song, aside from the authenticity, the sound, the style of it, is that it was just so vivid. So full of life. I love the neoclassical arpeggios on the guitars, the tightness of the rhythm riffs, the alternate picking, the chugging, etc. The shreddy elements there, working our way through different major and minor triads and diminished parts. It was exceptional. There was just so much to enjoy. But like that starting riff, it's a really tricky technical riff there that's incredibly proficient, and they really do know what they're doing on the strings, and it's just so tight. I am a little bit surprised that it was all in the center of the stereo field, though. I would have expected the double-tracked guitars to be on the sides, but also if we're having a predominant lead focus, then that's okay. I think some of the rhythm parts are on the sides, but just the actual color there, when you had the double kicks, the drums with the various sort of kick, snare, and cymbal patterns there, with the different fill parts there, but just the variety of different chops that we have there whilst keeping tempo is tremendous. To have the those kind of 16 or even 30 seconds on top there, relentlessly kind of applied on top of the growled components, because again, having the more kind of colorful arpeggios and lead lines contrasting with the more kind of like rougher, grittier textures of the vocals, they mesh well because they don't try and compete. But I like the fact that we had some sort of like alternate picked kind of like pedal notey kind of stuff there. We came down, we had dynamic range to this piece as well. So it's not just that we had a really compelling instrumental performance there, but we also had some interesting structural decisions that allowed for this track to kind of grow and orient itself in a really kind of positive spin. It was a lot of development throughout. There were twists and turns that never felt too predictable or overdone. This is a very mature song. And I want to sort of point out that kind of that kind of like 120-point mark there was just a great adjustment, a sort of a turn away from the guitar, bass, drum oriented stuff. A little bit of drama and tension to it. See, that's the thing. There was a lot of compositional diversity within this piece outside of a really competent instrumental performance. And like, I keep clicking to different parts of the track just to kind of verify what I'm talking about. And it's always something new. And that is so incredibly exciting. And it shows the growth that Relentless Pursuit has had over their time making music, to a point where I listen to this and I go, wow, this is like in another ballpark. This is the evidence of their experience as a musician across their albums. I'm stoked. I just appreciate the composition diversity structurally. And then finally, I think it's just that it's almost like it's a different kind of sound to metal that I'm not as familiar with, primarily because it almost seems like it's more kind of like it's more about the flavor and the mid-range and the arpeggios and the harmonies there, as opposed to being kind of heavy chug down-tuned guitarist kind of stuff. There's plenty of that, but I like that there's that kind of spice and zest to it, that we're allowing ourselves to explore the whole frequency spectrum, not just the lows and low mids, that we understand we can have heaviness without it being too literal. And so combined with all the other stuff I've said about like the production being like very, very good, I'm not necessarily convinced that the dynamic range was thoroughly explored, but like the stereo field, should I say, was thoroughly explored. It's sort of been nice to have some wider elements with the guitars and stuff like that. I do nonetheless appreciate this track for what it is. I feel like it was well done, and it was a positive addition to Relentless Pursuit's discography. So thank you for watching my review of this track from an act named Relentless Pursuit titled Symmetrical Darkness, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.